Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're looking at a massive, literally unprecedented mobilization happening right now across the African continent. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Africa CDC, have teamed up with the World Health Organization. They've just launched this massive joint response plan to tackle an ongoing and highly dangerous Ebola outbreak. And this one is being caused by the Bundibugyo virus. We're going to break down the numbers, the incredibly tight timeline, and the whole strategy behind this unified push.
But hey, before we get bogged down in the logistics, we gotta start with the real mystery of this emergency. How exactly does an entire continent plan to stop a deadly, super fast-moving outbreak when traditional medical defenses, like, an off-the-shelf vaccine, simply aren't an option? I mean, when we think of modern medicine, we usually picture a pharmaceutical silver bullet, right? But as you'll see, fighting this specific Bundibugyo strain, well, it requires a completely different kind of arsenal.
Section 1. A unified continental response.
To really grasp the sheer scale of this one response strategy, we just need to listen to Dr. Jean Kaseya, the Director General of the Africa CDC. He said, "Ebola moves fast, Africa must move faster." That single sentence, it perfectly hits the nail on the head regarding the immense pressure on the ground right now. This joint plan is designed to bring everyone together, governments, international partners, and absolutely crucially, local communities. It's all under one umbrella, complementing the national plans already rolling out in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. The goal here isn't to reinvent the wheel, it's to act with absolute, unified speed to save lives before this thing can cross borders. Now, acting fast requires serious resources, for sure. To fund this rapid detection and emergency coordination across the continent, they're aiming to raise a staggering $518 million US. Think about that for a second. $500 million. That is the massive financial weight behind this operation. And this funding isn't just to pay doctors and stock labs, it covers the whole shebang. Disease surveillance, infection prevention, mind-bendingly complex logistics, and just generally shoring up the overall health systems across multiple priority countries.
Let's move to how this builds into a really strict 6-month sprint. In month 1, which kicks off in June 2026, the entire focus is on initiating the plan and getting that immediate funding flowing. By month 3, implementation is aggressively ramping up across 10 priority countries where the risk of spread is just critical. And then we hit month 6, November 2026, which officially marks the end of this critical response window. So they have exactly half a year, 6 months, to mobilize over $500 million and shut this outbreak down. Talk about a ticking clock.
Section 2, a virus without a vaccine. Now here's where the story takes a harsh turn, and the grim medical reality of the Bundibugyo strain really sets in. Despite that massive funding and the strict timeline we just talked about, health workers on the front lines are facing a terrifying handicap. There are absolutely no licensed vaccines or therapeutics approved for the Bundibugyo species of Ebola. None. Zero. I want you to just pause and think about what that actually means on the ground. If you're a doctor responding to this outbreak, you do not have that standard medical magic bullet in your pocket. You can't just vaccinate the surrounding town to build a protective wall, and you can't administer a targeted antiviral cure to the folks who are sick. Which leads us to, honestly, the most critical question of this entire explainer. If there's no cure and there's absolutely no vaccine, what is our ultimate weapon? Seriously, how do health organizations fight back when $500 million literally cannot buy a vial of medicine to solve the problem?
Section 3. Communities at the center.
Well, the answer isn't sitting in a laboratory somewhere. It's out in the streets, in the rural villages, and the neighborhoods of the affected regions. The WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros, addresses this reality head-on. He says, this plan places communities at the center because without their participation, contact tracing falters, safe care is delayed, and transmission continues. What's really interesting about this is how stark it is. Without the active, willing participation of the people actually living in these outbreak zones, all the money and political promises in the world become, well, essentially useless. The community isn't just a bystander watching this happen. They have to be the active hero of this response. And if you break it down, you can really see the chain reaction that has to happen on the ground. Step 1 is securing community trust. In a lot of these outbreak zones, there's a deep, historical mistrust of outside medical institutions, or honestly, just a paralyzing fear of the unknown. If people are terrified or if they're facing heavy social stigma, they're understandably going to hide their sick relatives. But if you can overcome that barrier and truly build trust, then you can move to step 2, executing effective contact tracing. Because you can only track who's been exposed if the community actually talks to you. That naturally leads to step 3, delivering swift, safe care to those who need it, which ultimately gets us to step 4, stopping the transmission in its tracks. You can see how clinical care and transmission control are just completely impossible without that very first step of local, grassroots engagement.
So the crucial point here is the contrast between two very different forces. On one side, you've got the institutional top-down response, that massive $518 million in funding, the high-level cross-border collaborations, the advanced lab testing. But, and this is key, all of that is built entirely on the foundation of the grassroots bottom-up response, the local trust, the boots-on-the-ground contact tracing, and the community-led safe care practices. It's like a giant puzzle. That top-down institutional funding cannot survive, let alone succeed, without the bottom-up action happening in the villages.
Section 4, securing our shared future.
And the impact of this grassroots approach? It actually ripples far beyond just Ebola, building this incredible local resilience that protects lives across the board. Because the unfortunate reality right now is that Africa is battling simultaneous health emergencies. The Joint Plan heavily emphasizes that we have to maintain support for other ongoing crises, things like Mpox outbreaks, cholera epidemics, and the spread of measles. But the real beauty of this strategy is that a community network that's trained, trusted, and empowered to fight Ebola, that is the exact same network that's absolutely crucial to preventing disruptions when battling these other diseases. A truly resilient community is a shield against all of these threats.
It all comes back to the core philosophy driving the WHO and the Africa CDC right now. One plan, one budget, one team. But as we've seen throughout this explainer, that team isn't just made up of politicians in capital cities or scientists in white coats. It fundamentally relies on the everyday people, the local leaders, and the families in the affected towns and cities. They are the true frontline defense. Which leaves us with this final thoughts. We're living in an era where new health threats are just a constant reality. We've seen how this Bundibugyo outbreak requires a massive, unified response driven entirely by local trust. So the question we really have to ask ourselves as we look to the future is this: when the next virus emerges without a cure, will our communities be ready to lead the fight? Think about that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.